Let me see your identification.
My name's Bond. James Bond.
You must be Igor.
You've got a real attitude problem.
Danger's my middle name.
Wait, let me explain something to you.
I am an FBI agent!
I know, man, isn't it wild?
Wow! My mistake!
Did you eat a lot of paint chips when you were a kid? Why?
Are you shook up? Are you nervous?
Supernatural, perhaps.
Christ, look at that! God help us!
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Holy shit! Where's the Tylenol?
We'd like to get a sample of your brain tissue.
Okay.
Should I give him some medicine?
It's alive!
You know what's going on? Maybe it's another drill.
Welcome to Face the Real podcast that inspires and changes lives. Working as a stuntman and stunt coordinator in the motion picture and television world for over 27 years, I had the pleasure to meet and work with some amazing people. Actors, producers, directors, wardrobe, hair and makeup, fellow stunt performers, you name it. Here you get to hear some unbelievable stories from awesome people and their journeys through their lives, their struggles, and how they got to where they are today. Some of them funny, some of them sad, but never boring, and hopefully will help you to reach your goals, whatever they might be. I am Oliver Keller, and I'm excited to have you with me to face the real Ashton Moio. Awesome to see you. Welcome here to Face the Real, we call it. Face the Real Ashton Moio, you know?
So, yeah. Oh, Face the Real. Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, right. Dude, you got a little beard going. Looks good.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, the quarantine lockdown thing. You gotta it's like the only chance to really do it, so yeah.
Are you at your house, huh? You're not at Dad's.
Yeah, I'm at my apartment. Yeah, I've been here for the last month or so. Which has been cool. I was staying over there, but I was kind of worried because he's, you know, like a little older, and I was like worried about going out. But now I've been like golfing all over the place and doing things, so it's kind of nice.
Yeah, he was stoked to have you. He was telling me like, man, it's so nice. You know, he's coming over, he's hanging out, and yeah. And then he was telling me that you were taking like 7-mile walks every day.
Yeah, I would just go, to get out of the house and do something. I'd go walk for like 4 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, now I've been golfing, walking while I golf, and doing hikes and stuff too. It's been cool.
Yeah. Now, where's your apartment?
Sherman Oaks.
Sherman Oaks. Okay. How long have you been there?
Since this place since November, so not that long. 6-7 months.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, what how should I start? I talked to Cody Gilbert today. He says hello.
Oh, I gotta reach out to him. Yeah. I heard he's back in town, and yeah, right on. How's he doing?
Dude, he's doing great.
I know he got hurt, right? Like someone crashed a motorcycle into him or something.
Yeah, so stupid. Going back to one, you know, they were just goofing off, and the other guy made him crash, and so he tore his ACL, you know.
Man.
But no, he was just excited to hear your name. I was like, man, I got to give that guy a call, and you know,
yeah,
which is the same age, right? You're 28.
I think so. Yeah, is he 28 too?
Yeah. So,
follow him on Instagram. See, he's up there in Ventura. I got to reach out and go. Yeah, I don't know. Go to lunch with him or something.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, Troy plays golf quite a bit, and Mickey Gilbert. And I was actually trying to encourage your dad to reach out to Mickey and maybe go play a game together. You know?
Yeah, it'd be great. My dad's been playing too.
Has he?
Yeah. We went the other day, and it was fun. It started like downpouring though. And we tried to play for like 3 or 4 holes in the rain just because they'd been like locked inside so long. You know, they're really hoping it would pass, but then it just got too bad.
Wow.
Yeah. So this podcast, so what exactly is it? Like you kind of just interview like stunt people or just like anyone sort of, or?
Yeah. So the idea is just, you know, like for the 27 years now that I'm in the business, you know, I've always been really enjoying to hear the stories, and you kind of take them for granted. You know, you go work on a job, and then you sit on a table or you at work, you know, and you get those amazing stories from like your dad or, you know, Glenn Wilder and Scotty. It's just everyone has stories, right, from our job. And I always really enjoyed them. And I just think such a privilege to do what we do for a living. And I just want to give people that don't have the opportunities to listen to this kind of stuff, maybe even get inspired, but just share, the stories with them, and show the real people that we all are. And we all had a path that got us to where we are today. And it may be inspiring for some people, just to not even just become stunt performers, but to follow their dreams, to follow their vision that they have, but maybe are discouraged because of so many different reasons. And there's just no need for that. If you really want
especially where your thing worked out, where you like just watched the credits of movies and then like sent letters to people and then just showed up at Bob's doorstep. Yeah. That's crazy. It's like you do it, what do they say? Like take a step and God takes two, providence takes two, or jump and the net will appear. Yeah.
Absolutely. And like you just can't listen to the naysayers. I mean, I don't know if you ever kind of watched some of the documentaries about Arnold Schwarzenegger, like this guy, dude, like he came.
Yeah, I saw one of them.
He came from nothing, right? Like they didn't even have electricity. They didn't even have running water in the little town in Austria where he grew up. And, he saw pictures in magazines of, bodybuilders and actors in Hollywood, right? And that was in the 50s, and this little kid got inspired by it. And look what he has accomplished. And and he said it best. He's like, never listen to the naysayers, just always follow your passion, work hard, because you have to put in your time. And but just go for it, man. You have one life. Why would you? Why you're entitled to? You have to follow your dreams. You cannot waste that life. You can't just sit somewhere and hate your job every day and look forward to the weekend every week. It's just crazy to me.
Yeah.
And even if we can help one person to listen to our stories and say, hey, they're just people like I am, they're having the same issues, they're battling the same problems, or even worse. Like I had a great podcast with Vinny O'Brien yesterday. I don't know if you know Vinny.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, he used to come to Bob's for a bit.
Yeah, and talking about, again, following your intuition, listening to your intuition. That guy was professional boxer for many years, and he went through fighter's depression, for a long time. And I didn't even know that that's an actual thing. And
what is that? Is that after like getting hit in the head? Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, football players get it as well. It's
right.
Because your brain gets rattled so long, and for it's tough. But we didn't even get into that topic. Actually, we after we were done with an hour and a half podcast, I called him and said thank you, and he just really had a good time. And he said, I really think we should maybe bring up just that one topic and maybe plug in Geneva and see what questions she has, because unfortunately nowadays, because I think of the increase of technology and communication, you see more and more kids being have ADHD or have other depression issues and so on. And I believe it has something to do with the technology in many different ways, communication and the way kids communicate nowadays. It's not one-on-one in person as much anymore as it is texting, or how popular are you on apps.
I was thinking about that the other day too, because it's like, I think it's really good for people to be bored sometimes. Like George Carlin had said something. He's like, the best thing for a kid is to have like a few hours a day just to stare at a fucking wall, because then you're forced to kind of like look inside and then kind of get in touch with yourself and then be like more inner directed, and do what you really want to do. But when everything is coming at you like this, you're always thinking like, oh, what is, what's this person doing? What's this person doing? You never really have time to check in with yourself. And so because of that, like, yeah, I don't know. I think people just end up feeling like kind of empty, or like, I don't know, people that like would read a book, you know, and you sit with a book for hours, you get something. The more time you put into something, I think the deeper what you get out of it will be. And if everything is coming at you so quick, you never have any time to, like, I guess, digest it or run it through yourself and say, like, how do I really feel about this or that? I was just thinking about this myself a few days ago. Kind of funny you mentioned that. Yeah.
It's such a topic, you know. And anyhow, so we're going to have another podcast with Vinny and go into such details, and maybe even go live so we can have people asking questions while we're talking about it, because I think that's a really cool way to you know, be direct with people. Getting them involved is always a really cool thing to do. So technology is not all bad. Obviously, we're enjoying it right now here, but
Right.
I think like anything, you just got to make sure that you're aware of it. That, I mean, fact is, you know, all those apps are highly addictive, you know, like games and you know, the kids that play, you know, Instagram, if you're not careful with it, you know, it can really make it more important and get emotional in your life than it's supposed to be. I mean, who gives a turkey how many likes you have, you know what I mean? But it should not be a part of how it makes you feel, you know, within self-worth aspect of it.
Yeah, you shouldn't base your self-worth on like what other people think of you. Right. I think that's the thing too. Like I think if you have more time to be by yourself or to be bored, then you derive your sense of self-worth off of, I don't know, like accomplishing some goal or being disciplined or like, you know, things that you do. But if you get it off of like likes, then it's empty, you know, because there's always going to be someone else that people like more, or maybe there's some people aren't going to like what you do for some random reason. I think it's tough to keep up with.
Absolutely. And then also, you know, you could fall into trying to be someone you're not, you know, because you see what works for someone else, you know, it's like, oh, that person does this, right? Does it that way. And again, there's nothing wrong with using a marketing strategy per se, but, you know, don't try to be someone that you're not, and then you're unhappy with it because it's not you, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Anyhow, so that's what this is all about. And I have time, you know, so it's been a lot of fun, and I'm learning a lot, and hopefully we can help someone. So
yeah, right on.
But this is kind of like, you know, because we are in the industry of making movies and TV and stunt work. Now you've been much more versatile than a lot of us. I mean, you're not only you know, a very talented stunt performer, athlete, but you're also a musician. You have accomplished quite a few things. You're an actor. How was it? What was it like to be Ashton as a kid and grow up with your dad? And, you know, like, the viewers don't know, but, you know, your dad is quite a legend in the business. You know, he's done really well for himself as a stunt coordinator and as a second unit director. And he's known to be rough around the edges. I mean, now, you know, he's getting more gentle, but, you know, I got yelled at by him hundreds of times. You know, he was feared by a lot of people, but he's a jewel inside. I mean, he's incredible.
Yeah. I guess I just got to where I could kind of let it roll off, you know, and I'll still sometimes like snap back, like, you know, because if you just like run out of patience, but it all comes out of like him just caring or being passionate, you know. And I feel like it's different with certain people who, like, if they yell, then it really means that like something's wrong. But my dad will yell over like nothing, you know, like someone will be like, "What the hell is this?" from the other room, and I run in and it's like, I'm like what's going on? Like, you know, like someone like break in or what? And he's like, "You wash the dishes and you don't dry them and put them back in the thing? God, this looks awful." And I'm like, "All right, sorry." He's like, "Want to go to lunch?" And it's just kind of how he is. He just yells like, I don't know. It's like normal for him. But I guess back with what you're talking about before too, about like growing up with my dad, it was pretty great. I don't think I would be doing anything I'm doing now if it wasn't for him, because he had me in like He was taking me to Taekwondo like 3 or 4 times a week, gymnastics 3 or 4 times a week. He started like a stunt workout just so that I could, learn about stunts. And he invited like other stunt people so I could like learn from them. And it made me feel like as a kid, I was like, wow, like if he's putting all of his time into me, he must think I'm pretty important. And if he thinks I'm important, then, like I don't want to mess this up because maybe, I don't know, maybe there's something there. It kind of really fills you, like as a kid, I feel like how much time your parents put into you fills you with a sense of like self-worth or like, I don't know. I'm extremely grateful to my dad for like everything. And it always gave me this feeling that I could do anything that I wanted to do if I like just went all for it and put the time in. And he was always, encouraging with anything, he's like, go for it. It's just a job, because sometimes I'd be worried if I was like, oh, if I go for acting, am I not going to work as much in stunts? Or if I, at any point you're kind of like, sometimes you're scared to make a move because you feel like it could like affect something else. And he's always been kind of just like, go for it. And things sort of work out. I was talking to this girl the other day about how she wanted to be like an architect and to go to college. And her mom's like, oh, why don't you go for engineering? Because then if you know engineering, then if you want to become an architect or a designer, you'll know how to actually build the stuff. And I was thinking like, why wouldn't you just go to be an architect? Like so many people are scared to do what they really want to do. So they find some like thing that they would be like sort of just okay with, that's like maybe below what their actual dream is, because then if they like, I guess if they fail, then they know they'll be okay. But it's weird how so many people like count themselves out without even trying. Like there's that quote from, I don't know if it's Will Smith, but he said it, but there's no need for a plan B because it distracts from plan A. And so many people, they like kind of count themselves out before they even, get a chance to do anything.
Right. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, you could really go to college at like any point. Another thing too, is like I feel like people think your life is over at like 30 or 40, when in reality it's like just kind of begins then. So many people feel like, I got to go to college and I got to get this job. And then if they're unhappy by 30, then maybe they'll either do what they really want to do, or they'll wake up and be 60 or 70 and be like, man, why didn't I do what I really wanted? But I don't know. I feel like I've been very lucky because like my family's all here living in California. So I've always felt like, I'm like, I don't think I'd ever really starve, like the very least I could like get some job working minimum wage. So like it's like, why not go after what you really want to go after? I guess it'd be different if I had like kids who depended on me or like something like that. But I feel like I'm in a very like blessed position to really just go after whatever,
Now, when I remember, I think you were like 10 or so when we started training you over at Bobby's, right?
I think the first time I went there, I was like 8, almost 9. But right around then, I was like, like 9 or 10 when it started building up. Because it used to be just me, my dad, and like Larry Holt and Tom Morgan would come.
Yeah.
And just like they'd work out and do like little high falls and stuff. But yeah, you were there right in the beginning, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And was Sam Reynolds there at the same time? Was he before or after? Do you remember that? Like,
Sam came in a little after.
And then Anthony Molinari was like a little after too.
Yeah, Anthony, what another great guy, man. He he did well for himself. Also, he's another one of those guys that just, you just put in the time. That's one thing that keeps coming up in those conversations we're having here is it all comes down to putting in the time, no matter what it is you want to be doing. You know what I mean? You just got to put in the time. And
huge thing too is like anything that you really want to do, I feel like it takes so much work to do it. And if you don't actually love it, it's really hard to do that work. And so many people like want to do things, I think, for the wrong reasons, but they don't actually like what they're doing. Like, with a lot of actors, like I know a lot of people that I don't think they really like enjoy acting. So because of that, they're not in acting class, they're not reading plays because they don't really like it, but they like the notoriety part of it or like, seeming important and stuff. And when that becomes the case, then you're always like judging yourself based on like where you're at in the process and unhappy. And you're like, man, this sucks. But if you just love doing what you're doing, it takes discipline, but then also like the work kind of takes care of itself because it's fun. You're not like, you're not always like, measuring where you're at on the journey, or at least with stunts. Like, I feel like growing up, going to Bob's and going to Taekwondo and gymnastics was just like, it was just a fun thing to do. And if I was going to hang out with my friends and I'd say, hey, let's hang out at, this open gym and go do that. It was just kind of like what you did. And then all of a sudden it's been 10 years of doing it, and one thing leads to another. And yeah, I think that's like really key.
It's like that saying, right? If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, right? And it's just like that. I mean, but I never thought about the fact that some actors may not even actually like doing acting work. I never thought about that.
Yeah, I mean, at least like, I don't know. I mean, these are maybe like actors that like aren't working that much. Maybe not ones you see on set, but yeah, some people who get in things for the wrong reasons. I feel like those are the ones who are like, I don't know, they get like depressed about where they're at. But if you just like love doing what you're doing right now, I feel like everything else kind of will take care of itself. Yeah. And like also people want to work with people that love what they're doing, not that are disgruntled because they're not further along, or, I think I should be here or there, but like, I think that's what like charisma or charm is. When you see somebody doing what they love, even if they're not as good as somebody else maybe, but when you see them like they're having the time of their life, that's the kind of person you want to be around and work with. And yeah, it's infectious, I think.
Absolutely. It's not all not just all about your talents. It's about your charisma, about your personality, and that's who you want to have around you. That's what you want to spend your time with.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely not fun to work with people who don't like what they're doing,
Right.
And so many people do that too. Like, so many people want to do something else, but then if you pick the safe thing, you end up doing that and then not liking what you're doing and then being pissed off, and so things don't really work out well there. I just think it's the safe option really isn't the safe option either, because who knows how that's going to pan out if you're doing something you don't really like to do. So, yeah.
Well, and time is so precious, so you got to utilize it carefully, and you really got to set your goal. And to me, to me, it's always been really easy in that way. And
because you knew what you wanted to do from a pretty early age, right?
I was 7 years old when I saw The Fall Guy, and I said, that's what I want to do, and
yeah. I
just never let it go, despite of the fact I grew up in a country that at that time didn't even have a film industry, right? And
right.
I grew up in a small town. The population was 2,000, and everyone thought I was completely out of my mind and nuts, right? But
yeah.
That's what I want to do. So you got to just follow your dream, and again, like, if you know where you want to go, then and it's easy to see how you're going to get there.
It's crazy how things have a way of working out. Like these like far-fetched things that you wouldn't think would fall into place. But if you just like go after what you really want, and if you're going after it for the right reasons, it's like people want to help you. I also found like people that I think love what they do and are successful in it always want to help somebody. If you like, I've met like actors or writers and asked them like, how do you do this? And they'll talk to you. I don't know. They'll talk for like an hour about it, Or same with you as a stunt person. If you met some kid who was like, came up to you and said, I'm so passionate about this and so cool. Like, how can I get into it? People want to help someone who is following their dream, or what they really want to do.
Dude, 100%. And I've been fortunate to help so many people, that were passionate about it. Like, Urs Inau, and my buddy Urs from Switzerland.
Yeah.
So he's a protege of mine, and I'm tremendously proud of him because he's a go-getter. I mean, he knew what he wanted to do. He asked me, helped him along, and he went ahead and did it. But it goes with the old saying too. It's like you can only lead the horse to the
water. You can't make it drink.
Yeah, exactly. And so once you get an opportunity, you just got to go for it and work your ass off.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like helping people to get there, to me, it's always been one of the biggest joys is to help someone else with what I have the ability of doing, right? Like, so if they come up to me and say, hey, I want to be a stunt performer too. And so many of them did, but 10% are really serious about it because, there's a lot of work that goes into it, and it's going to take a while for most people. Some people make it quicker. Some people, take a while.
And that's why you gotta love it, because it's like, the money or the traveling or whatever, getting to do some badass stuff is really cool. But that might come after 3 years of, helping people out, loading pads and stuff, or who knows what, doing all this stuff for free or weird hours and whatever.
Absolutely.
But if you love that, then it works out perfectly. But if you hate it the whole time, you're like, man, is this really worth it? You're always like measuring where you're at. And I think that's like, it's tough. Like a lot of actors will be like, I'm going to give myself 10 years. And if I don't make it in 10 years, I'm going to like move back to Arizona and get into advertising with my dad or something, And if you're doing that, like, it's never going to work out because you're already kind of planning for it to fail. But I feel like, it usually works out, especially at Bob's, like the stunt workout. I've seen so many people come through there, and the vast majority of them who really love it and stick with it or end up becoming end up doing pretty well, I feel like. Yeah.
So now, how did you get into the business, into the stunt business, let's just say, because you have so many different ones?
Yeah. Well, my dad's been doing stunts since like the mid 60s. So he's been doing stunts for a long time. And growing up, I skateboarded. And I think around the time when I was able to kind of understand what my dad did, which I think maybe I was like 7 or something like that. Like before I knew he worked in movies and stuff, but I don't even really remember that well. But anyways, around that time, it just seemed like a really cool thing to do. Just like jumping off of towers and, riding the air ram or like play fighting. And so my dad got me into all these classes, started that workout, and then got me my SAG card when I was 12 years old on this movie called Little Red Riding Hood. And I doubled this little kid, and you were on that too, actually. Yeah, and I like jumped a quad, and like a green screen. It was like the funnest, the funnest thing ever. So that was the introduction, and then just like doubling kids here and there. I worked for Keith Campbell and worked in Oregon on the ring too, doubled a kid, and then I worked for you like that same summer and was in Switzerland, and it just kind of went from there. And I was always going to like stunt events or parties, and a lot of stunt people are like multi-generational too, so you make friends with kids and their dads, and it's a small little community. And I guess it just kind of took off from there. It was entirely my dad. We just kind of on a platter. I just had to like go and do this stuff.
Right. But again, I mean, we both know several stunt performers that have family in the business, and they may not work as much. And you look at, kind of like their career path, they just don't train, as intensely. They may not have such an outgoing personality, or whatever that may be. But so basically, you had a dad in the business that helped you with the steps, but you still had to continue working hard. And you're such a likable dude, and it's fun to be around, and you always do a kick-ass job. I mean, you've done some crazy stuff. You're wickedly talented. I mean, for some people that don't know what an air ram is, it's been around for, I think it started in the 60s. But it's a little bitty catapult. I mean, it's usually like a 3-4 feet long device, lays flat on the ground, and it has a mechanism.
Pistons.
When you put your foot on it, a little trigger gets activated, like a little button, and a couple or 3 pneumatic pistons fill with air and make the catapult go up. And it's pretty it's really dangerous, really. I mean, if you don't step on it right, you can injure yourself. The old school ones were really aggressive. Now they've got a little bit more progressive, but usually you step on it and you fly up in the air, and it works for a bomb hit or an explosion, and just the body flies through the air. And you usually land in pads or sometimes on the ground, depending on the action. But I've seen you, Ashton, go like at a young age, go 40-some feet far, and you do double backflips on them, gainers, like back. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, double gainer, double fronts. Yeah. I mean, I'm fairly comfortable with it too. I guess just doing it so long, and at the same time I was doing gymnastics, so kind of feels like almost an extension. Like if you get it right, it should almost feel like an extension of your leg, and you can kind of throw whatever. But yeah, a lot of fun. But I think doing all that work or like training and stuff, it was just because like I really enjoyed doing it. It was just like a lot of fun. So it never really felt like, oh, I'm like working so hard. And I think also when you do something you really like love doing, like maybe, I don't know, like if you were talking to somebody about something you had no interest in, like, which I don't know what that would be, but like you might not come off as the most charismatic person, you might be kind of weird in a room. But if you're talking about something a lot about, like if you were like really into basketball, you would see someone just like light up when they start talking about the thing they like to do. So I think the most important thing is to like find at an early age like what you really are passionate about, and then it's easy to be outgoing, because like you're doing something you love to do, you're having a great time, and then it's easy to put the work in because you're just doing something that you really enjoy doing.
Right, exactly. And it helps you getting closer and closer to your goal. You really, and here's the thing too with goal setting that I personally believe in is you got to set them really high, right? And
yeah,
like several goals in my life I've achieved, and then I keep going, and I've actually been accused of usually by ex-girlfriends, but they would say you're never happy, right?
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with not ever being happy. It's just, well, no, I'm totally happy. It's just accomplished this year, but now I need a new task, right? And so you look for something else to do. I mean, again, go back to Schwarzenegger, right? He wanted to be the best bodybuilder he can be, or there is, and he achieved that goal several times, right? And then after, I don't even know what the highest bodybuilder contest.
Mr. Universe? I don't know.
Yeah. But I think he got that title several times, but then he wanted to get into acting, right? And despite of the fact that nobody could understand the dude.
And he couldn't act.
He couldn't act.
He got himself, and then a worldwide star, and then like a multi-million-dollar. Yeah.
Biggest box office star in the world, right?
And it all started from lifting weights in Austria.
Right. And so then he accomplished the highest thing in acting. Now he wants to be governor, right?
Yeah.
Again, like it's crazy. I mean, unbelievable. Bill Burr, Bill Burr, the actor. He was he had a great bit about that. He's like, how many lifetimes would you need to accomplish what this dude has accomplished? Right?
Yeah.
Not knowing the language, going to a different country, kick ass in bodybuilding, real estate, which people don't know. He was a millionaire before he even became an actor because of real estate in California. And just unbelievable. It's just insane. So
yeah,
how can you not be inspired by people like this and just say, you know what, fuck it, I'm not going to sit in this cubicle anymore. I'm not going to.
Well, I think there's two things people do too. It's like you can either like look at that to like lift you up and inspire you, or you could find some fault with them, like with the thing where he got his like the housekeeper woman like pregnant, and you could try to tear them down and say, oh well, they're not so great, really he's just like he cheats on his wife. And if you bring other people down, then you're like, oh, at least now I'm on the same level of someone like that. And I guess it's just a choice you can make, but if you tear people down, you're never going to be happy. But I think that's what a lot of people do to make themselves feel better. They'll find some fault with someone, because that's what this whole thing is about. He's like, people are finding fault. This guy makes like one mistake, but like think about what he actually has done, like how amazing like it is. But people just focus on this one thing. So it's how you look at life. You could take that in anything. You could say, am I going to use this to inspire me, or am I going to like use this to make me feel better about where I'm at, like pull people down so I don't have to like go up.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, next time anyone thinks they're perfect, try to walk on water, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's
yeah. Incredibly inspiring story.
Right, exactly. Anyhow, so you got started because of your dad. You got your sack hard, but you were a teenager. You were, then you can.
Yeah, I think I was 12 when So 2004, which was like 16 years ago or something, and then then I was in a band for a couple years, and
how did that start?
I had a friend. My mom lived in Malibu, And I met this kid there, and he had a band, and I don't know, he needed a bass player, and he didn't get along with this one kid. And they thought like, well, why don't we just find someone you get along with and just teach him how to play bass? And it was like a really cool situation where they got me a bass, and they paid for like bass lessons from the bass player of Jane's Addiction at the time. So it was like a really cool situation. And then his parents owned Bedhead and TG. So they would sponsor all these radio shows across the country. And, a caveat of them sponsoring would be to let, their son's band open up. So I got to play with like, after 6 months of taking bass lessons, like open up for Rise Against, did a tour with like Papa Roach and Buck Cherry, and played like with Stone Temple Pilots, and just like all these, huge rock bands at like stadiums and stuff when I was like 15. And I would do like backflips with the guitar. And I definitely at the time took it for granted. I mean, it was like great, but thinking back, I'm like, wow, like what, I don't know. What are the odds of something like that happening? I didn't play bass. Like, the guy just liked me. He's like, yeah, you're just a nice guy. We'll teach you the rest.
But dude, I mean, check this out. Like you learn how to play a bass with no knowledge of it whatsoever, right?
Yeah.
And 6 months later, you're on tour.
Yeah.
Freaking crazy. And how many people are out there, practicing an instrument for years, right? And not getting anywhere. And I understand, look, there's no substitute for shit ass luck, right? So you have to be lucky.
Yeah.
Much rather be lucky than good at any time, right? So you were at the right spot at the right time. But I'm just saying, like, it is possible, and especially nowadays, I think even more so. And I don't know if you follow Gary Vee at all, but he,
I do. Yeah.
Amazing. Like, he talks about, guys, it's never been as easy as nowadays. Advertising is free.
Find someone. Yeah.
And it won't be free for much longer. I really believe in that because, it's obvious. Like, anyone can advertise on Instagram or Facebook and all the other platforms. So, man, that's awesome. What a crazy story. And how long did you tour?
Let's see, right from I was 15 till like almost 17. Like, it was like 2.5 years. I think I was in the band for. And then, but my heart was never really in it. At that time, I just wanted to do stunts. And my dad was like, this is a great opportunity. You have to do this, and he's like, just give it 6 months. And I don't know. I just preferred, like, back then, like, just jumping off of high, stuff and play fighting and stuff like that. And we wore like weird outfits, like leather vests with like studs on them. And I just felt like I was like, oh, it's kind of gay. Like, I was like, man, I hope my friends don't see me in this, and like tight pants and like boots. And I was like, but it was like, my dad was right. It was like an amazing opportunity. I got to travel. And then once I got into acting, I was like, man, like, I really took that for granted, like how awesome that was. But at the time, I just wanted to do stunts. So it got to a point where after a couple years, I don't know. I just told my dad, I was like, hey, I just want to do stunts, So then around 18, I started working doing stunts. And then my dad was like, you should do like an acting class to help out with stunts, just have another avenue. And fell in love with doing that because I love doing stuff. And the thing is, like, with stunt work sometimes, which is going to sound like a really weird thing to complain about, but you show up on set, you sit around for like 8 hours, and then you do your thing, and it's really fun and exciting. But the whole time I'm like, man, I kind of want to be like involved, and with acting, it's like, you're always talking, like, unless you're doing a big stunt where you're setting it up. But, there's a lot of days on like TV shows and stuff where you go and you kind of just hang out, and it's a great job because you still have the same kind of like respect and like notoriety of like anyone else on set. But stunt people just don't have to work as much. You put in all the work before, so you can come in and do your thing and not mess it up, because there's high stakes if you mess up. So they pay you to come and do your thing. But there's something I liked about with acting where you're always thinking about it, you're always working on it, you're talking with the director and the other actors and figuring this thing out. And so yeah, I kind of fell in love with that. And I guess with stunts, you could become a coordinator or second unit director, and then there's an endless amount of like work that would go into like designing all this stuff too. And that used to be what I thought, you know, I wanted to do. Yeah. And then it kind of led to acting, and now I just do both. And it's crazy thinking about this too. I think like when you're like a 5-year-old kid, like what are the two things you do? You like make up, you know, situations with your friends where you play like cops and robbers or things like that. And then you like play fight with stuff. And that's kind of what I do. It's like I live in imaginary circumstances with acting, and then I like will go play fight, or I'll like, you know, be some alien, like, you know, flying and like landing on the walls and stuff like that. It's kind of cool. It's like the same kind of playing you do as a kid.
Right.
And people pay me for that now. It's kind of, sometimes I'm driving home from work thinking like man, like how bizarre, like what I did today. One time I climbed a palm tree and I like cut palms off the top of a palm tree. Just like you do the most like obscure, like different things. Yeah.
What is one of the craziest things you got to do, you think?
Well, I did a 90-foot high fall when I was 18 or 19. That was maybe like the biggest stunt I did. But yeah, I've done all kinds of like fun things. Like I did a zip line out of like a 3rd-story window of a house across the yard into a pool filled with like topless girls. I've driven a car into like a demolition derby and got hit by a bunch of cars. What other fun things? I've like been in like an Elmo costume, gotten tackled by like an NFL football player. Not really tackled, but like kind of throws me over. But I mean, it's weird. I can't really think of them right now, but just so many ridiculous things, but like so fun. Yeah.
There's some crazy situations we get put in sometimes, and yeah, like stuff that you can't even think about. You know, it's like,
yeah.
I told Cody today, you know, I got to ride a camel on Fifth Avenue in New York, right? Like, who gets to do that stuff?
It's stuff like that.
And like I said, many other stunts, of course. But I remember your dad telling me about your 95-foot high fall. He was confident in your abilities, of course, because I know how good of a high fall guy you are. But also obviously worried, you know, because 95 feet, I mean, I've done it. It's really, really high, you know, and if you do not land perfectly from that height, no matter how cushy that airbag is, you know, you have a big chance of getting hurt or killed.
Yeah, if you push off wrong or whatever. Yeah, it was funny when I did that too. I just, as soon as they said action, I kind of just like went, you know, and as soon as I like got over the edge, I was like, oh shit, it's a little higher, you know, for like a moment. And then within a second, you're like down there, you're on the pad, and you're like, oh, it's not so bad. But I'd done like, I mean, I don't even know, hundreds or maybe 1,000. I don't know, like from 60 feet at Bob's. And yeah, it wasn't a whole lot different, but that was maybe I did one like last year that was kind of interesting. It was like out of the 3rd story of a parking garage into an alley, and the alley was 7 feet wide. So I had this like tiny airbag that was like the size of a porta pit with like an 8-incher underneath it. And it was like 35 feet, but I had to jump, and it's only 7 feet. So I had to like jump and go like sideways to kind of hit it. But that was a pretty fun one, because I really had to hit the mark, you know. Mm-hmm. The bag is about the size of, it's like 6 feet by 8 feet. So it's just enough. But yeah, some fun stuff.
That's crazy for that height, you know, for people that don't know. But if you're 30 feet up, and that's actually something your dad always was on our cases about when we trained. He says, you cannot afford to travel a foot when you leave that platform, you know, because sometimes you do not have that spacing, and you need to go straight down. Because, you know, I mean, I overshot my landing before many years ago when I first started, just with my legs went over the pads, and both my heels hit the concrete, like you won't believe, from 35 feet. You know, I had bone bruise for weeks, right? You walk on your tiptoes. But, you know, also people have gotten killed, you know, from
less. That one guy from Walking Dead, I think he was like 18 feet up or something, or it was like, I don't know, like a 2-story kind of thing, but he like landed, I guess, on his head. But yeah, it's not something to like mess around with, I guess. That's what I really love about stunts too, is like how focused you are on set. Like when you're doing something, everyone's like, oh, they're doing the stunt right now, and everyone's like, I don't know, it's like that kind of feeling, that something really important is about to happen, and it can go one of two ways. And, that's a really, it's fun. Feels like you're doing like serious work.
Right. Like sometimes you get to do something that, after you pull it off, right, it's like, holy shit, we just did that, right? And it looked amazing. Nobody got hurt, and we walk away from it. Because some things can be pretty complex, and there's a lot of different things that can go
Moving
wrong.
parts.
Moving parts, right?
Yeah, definitely. That was a lot of fun.
What was your first acting gig?
My first, maybe NCIS. I did I had done like little like stunt parts where I had like one line and like, got like flipped over or something.
Sure.
But maybe like the first one where I had a more substantial part, I think was for Diamond Farnsworth, like turned my name in to go audition for it for NCIS. And I played like this hacker guy who also was like a free running parkour guy. So like had a couple scenes and like a free running chase scene. I think that was like the first one. And then after that I did like guest star in the Newsroom, and then just different guest stars on TV shows. But I think that was the first one. But
But see, it goes back to being versatile. Like you were just saying, a hacker that's also a parkour
guy. Yeah, it's like kind of a goofy.
Like if you wouldn't have that ability, you wouldn't have gotten that job. You know what I mean? Like, the more you can do, the better, right? So it all goes back down to training and being versatile and being good at a lot of different things, and that way it broadens your opportunity to get work.
Yeah, that's why I love doing stunt work too, and I guess acting as well, is because it's like you're always in different locations with different crews, and you're always doing something different too. It's like on one thing you gotta like fall off a horse, on another thing you're like, I don't know, you'll be like riding on those hoverboard things, having to do a handstand on one of those, or you're like falling out of a tree. It's like you're always learning different stuff, and so it always feels like a different job. It's always fun. It's always new. And same with acting, like whatever part you're doing, there's things you got to learn. There's like an accent you got to pick up, or I don't know what the scenes are about. You can like do research and learn about that. So that's what I really love about it. It's like you're always growing, and then you have such interesting stories to tell as you're older. Like stunt guys who, I don't know, like stories they have with like hanging out with Elvis Presley, or like, I don't know, just like all kinds of, I can't even think about it right now. Just like how lucky we are, and like the kind of fun, things we get to do.
Exactly. And your dad has tons of those stories too, and I'm sure you heard them many, many times. What is one of your favorite stories from your dad regarding that stunt stories?
I don't know, funny one. He was working on this movie in Hawaii, and it's funny because I feel like back then it was funnier, but now like with like the Me Too thing, this would be offensive. But anyways, he was like a young guy, and him and his buddy were like, hey, let's try to like see if each of us can bring a girl home to our hotel room every night, like built, one blonde and one brunette. And they had this thing going, and I wonder if it was, I'm trying to remember, I forget the other guy's name. I don't want to say the wrong person. But anyways, this one night, like his one friend got two girls in one night that he like got met with at this bar, because there was like a ton of extras and a ton of young people and stuff, and it was like the 60s. And then he saw this one girl talking to this guy, and he was like trying to get in with the girl, and he goes up to the guy and he's like, hey, you know what, if you get out of here, I'll get you a job as an extra on this movie. And he went to set the next day, and it was like Dustin Hoffman. I guess he was like one of the leads in the movie. But there's like, I don't know, funny stories like that. I know there's better ones, but I can't quite think of them right now. Yeah, you got any funny?
Oh man, like Glenn Wilder and I were really close, and he in fact wrote a book about his life, right, memoirs, but it never got published. But he gave me a copy a couple years before he passed away, and my gosh, there's so many incredible stories in there. Like one of my favorite is he worked on a movie in Vegas, and he he was friends with Elvis Presley. He shot like 7 movies with Elvis Presley, and but so then Glenn was on a job in Vegas on a different movie, and he saw that Elvis was performing, and he figured, oh man, it'd be awesome to go see him, right? And he was running short on time, and so he came right from set to the hotel, and he was going to go buy a ticket, but he was in flip-flops and shorts and a Hawaiian shirt, and they wouldn't let him in because he's not dressed appropriately. Right then, as he was, okay with it, he understood that, okay, fine, I'm not gonna enjoy the show then. The door of the elevator door opened up down the hall, and Elvis Presley came out with his entourage, and right away it was like yelling, "Wild man, how you doing, man? What are you doing here?" And so Glenn is turning around. He's like, "I'm trying to see your show, but they won't let me in because I'm not dressed appropriately." And Elvis Presley walked right up to the guy at the counter and said, "If you don't let this man in right now, I'm not going to perform tonight."
Oh, wow.
And then not only that, but also they kicked everyone off the front row, and Glenn was by himself sitting in the center of the front row with a bunch of, popcorn and other treats that, they splurged him with. And he said, I felt like an idiot. I was sitting there by myself watching the show. But, there's just endless stories like this. And it was just different times, like your dad told me some stories with Dean Martin and Sammy Davis Jr. And they would just always hang out with the stunt guys. It was just a little different time back then.
I feel like back then too, like Hollywood, because they like controlled the public image of like all these actors and everything, and it was all kind of run by Hollywood. It was like a lot more of a glamorous business. Like if you told someone you were like a stunt guy, it was like, the coolest thing in the world. And I guess now it's still kind of cool. Like meet girls at bars and you're like, oh, I do stunts. But I feel like back then, like being like from being in Hollywood and being in movies, it kind of gave you like carte blanche, and like they get picked up in limos and always fly first class and get like the nice hotels. There's just so much more money, it seemed like, in the business that was, I guess, before like corporations bought the businesses, and now they're more responsible for a bottom line, so they kind of cut back. But it seemed like these guys are really around in like the golden age of Hollywood, when then it was just like I think my dad told me he worked 5 jobs in one day before, and it wasn't unusual to work 2 or 3. Yeah, and he's like, the only reason anyone would be out of work was because they wanted to not work for a little bit, and then go like, go dick around somewhere and go do something.
He told me, your dad told me that the first ADs on the shows that he was working on, they actually communicated with each other. So the first AD on, whatever show at Warner Brothers was calling the first AD on the show John was about to go work on Sony, right? Or back then MGM. And they said, hey, how much longer do you need John? And then they would schedule around the stuntman's schedule. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
Crazy.
And
the most jobs, I think I had 2 different jobs the same day where it worked out, and stunt coordinators actually communicated, which was really cool. One of them was Ron Stein. Yeah, he was another old school dude. Really cool.
I've had that happen before too, where I was doing like a couple weeks of working nights, and then I got jobs, and I was like, well, I'm off at 6 in the morning. I usually don't have to be back there till 6 or 7. So like I took some jobs and ended up like working out, but like just barely. But I don't know. I've had it happen before, but not quite like the way it was with my dad, or maybe how it was with you, where it's like, scheduled during the day. I was kind of like fingers crossed, sweating it was going to work out. Like, I hope I get off in time to make this other thing. Yeah.
What are some of your favorite projects you got to work on?
As far as acting goes, probably the Newsroom. I worked on that, and Aaron Sorkin wrote it, and we got to like all meet up, read through the script, and then went to the location where we were going to shoot it, rehearse the scene, and then they did the blocking based off of how we rehearsed it. Then they had Aaron Sorkin come in, and one actor was like, oh, this feels weird. He's like, all right, I'll rewrite it. And then once we did all that, then they brought like the crew in, and they're like, all right, we're going to, plan to shoot this around how they did it, where it's usually the other way around. Like you have to hit certain marks as actors to kind of make it something work that they like already came up with that feels kind of inorganic, but that's what you have to do is kind of make it feel organic. So that was maybe my favorite like acting thing. And then stunt wise, I worked on Step Brothers 2 in Boston for like a month. And, you know, doing runs like that is always just fun because you get to catch up with all these stunt people and you're like hanging out in a hotel with them for like a month. But I guess like things like that, like the runs I've had like out of town are probably some of my favorite times. Or just sometimes on days on TV shows too, where you get like 20, 30 stunt people, which is rare. But when you do, you just get to catch up with everybody. I think one of the things I love most about doing stunts is just the community of people, which is really great.
Yeah, it's pretty solid. Like, it seems like if someone is, you know, severely injured and needs help, you know, then they're all always willing to help out in many different ways. You know, if it's raising money or if it's just helping out in other ways. It's a pretty solid community.
Yeah, definitely. And then, you know, maybe like the show I'm working on now, or was working on right before this happened, the Orville, has been really great too, just because working with Tim Davidson is awesome. You worked for Tim before, right? Or you were with him?
Yes, I have. He's a great guy.
Yeah, great guy. And yeah, it's been like really regular for me on that show, which has been awesome. And I've gotten to do like all kinds of fun things like ratchets and a ton of like wire stuff and fight scenes. And that's cool. I also really like it too when you do stunts where you get to like know the crew. Because sometimes you're just in there for a day and then you're out. When you work on a show for a while, like I'm sure like, you know, with you on The Rookie, where you get to know everybody and it's kind of nice. You know, it's funny. It's like most people don't like a 9-to-5 or a set schedule, but as a stunt person, you know, you never get that. So when you like see people and you like, you know, the people at work and you're like, man, it's somewhat regular. There's something kind of cool about that. But like, man, it's nice, like having some sense of regularity with it. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, when I first got to work on The Rookie, I knew it's, you know, it's going to be a blessing for quite some time. I made it a mission right away to know as many names of the crew members as possible. But, you know, there's usually like 100 some people on the set. And, you know, like, okay, so this one hair lady's name is Christy, right? Grip guy's name is, and I'm brain farting. But
No,
you just kind of, you know, try to remember people's names because it makes them feel special too. You know, like every day you show up and oh man, it's gonna drive me crazy that I forgot his name. I see him right in front of me. But anyhow, it's just nice to be personal, you know, and
yeah,
and build this relationship, you know, and hang out and talk, and you know, maybe you can help them out on that day. Maybe they feeling a little down about who knows what's going on in their lives, and so maybe you can better their day, you know. So, but you gotta establish this little bit of a relationship with them too.
Yeah, and I feel like it really gives you the feeling that you're all there working together for some kind of, you know, common goal. Like that's what also is really cool about working in film and TV, and especially when like, I don't know, let's say for some stunt, I don't like, you know, they're like, hey, you know, don't worry about it. We'll like loosen the wig up because we're not really going to see it. Or, you know, you can help them out in some way. But I think that's when it's like at its best, when you're like focused on what you're doing, but then also like everyone's kind of helping each other out and like they're kind of for each other. And that's when you get like a synergistic thing, you know, like 1 and 1 is usually 2. But if you work the right way where neither has to compromise, 1 and 1 can actually, you know, you come up with a value that's greater than the sum of your parts, you know, like where you guys are all, yeah, I don't know. When you work together in a certain way, how am I saying this? Man, I feel a little slow this morning, but you know,
this morning.
Oh yeah, what time? Oh shoot, it's 3:30. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, this afternoon. Whoa, what is it for you? It's like 6:30 there, huh?
You know what? I don't even know. What time is it in LA right now?
3:30.
3:30.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it's 6:30 here.
Nice. Yeah, I guess it's not the morning, but
gonna have to make dinner for Geneva soon.
Oh, nice.
Dude, we've been on this really interesting journey. Have you seen the documentary The Game Changers?
Yeah, I have. Is that about the vegan diet thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, I watched it. You know, it seemed to me like a little bit like skewed. Like they're like just kind of selecting certain stuff. I mean, I don't know. I eat a lot of meat. I feel like meat's pretty good for you. But how's it been for you? What are you finding? You know, Kieran. He's a big proponent of vegan diet, and he said it works wonders for him. So
Who was that?
Kieran Gallagher. You know, it's that guy Kieran Gallagher.
No, I don't.
Anyways, he's like been vegan for a while.
But Eddie Fernandez actually turned me on to the Game Changers, and we watched it together, Geneva and her mom and I. And there's a lot of facts in there. You know, there's a lot of. I like the situation where they go to the firefighters in New York, right, and explain the fact how your arteries get clogged up quickly, you know, on a heavy animal protein diet or not well balanced diet. So they put them all on vegetables or you know, plant-based diet for a week, and so many blood results and cholesterol comes down. I mean, that's a fact.
Well, the thing too that's interesting is like when you're like they're interviewing those like football player guys, you know, and it's like, all right, if you're gonna eat like pepperoni pizza and you're eating like cheeseburgers from McDonald's and then you switch to just eating vegetables, like of course it's going to be better, but can you really say it's because of the meat? But if you're eating like, you know, free range like chickens and like organic meats and stuff and with vegetables and you're eating like good quality stuff, I feel like it's just good quality stuff. Like whenever they would compare it, it would be people that are like, you know, just eating like crappy, you know, fried chicken and stuff, you know, like, yeah, I just eat fried chicken. I don't think about how I work out. I feel like if you make that switch to vegetables, of course you're gonna notice a difference. But if you eat your vegetables fried too, you're probably gonna feel like not very great.
Yeah,
you know?
That's a good point. And yeah, and you're right. But anyhow, so we started that about 2 months ago, and you know, just recently here the gyms opened back up. And you know, I usually work out for 6 times a week, right? And I enjoy lifting heavy and I do my 40, 50, sometimes 60 minutes of, you know, intense cardio. And so then we weren't able to do all that, right? So I took my bike on a ride every day and sometimes 2 hours. I couldn't buy any weights anywhere because they were sold out in all the stores. So I ended up making some on my own, right? I made a freaking barbell with concrete and 3/4 inch pipe, right? Just I had to do something. It's going bananas, right? Not working out. But I did put on a little COVID fat, I call it, right?
Yeah.
Over this period of time. And changing the diet to complete vegan was new because now you don't know really, you know, there's so many different ways how to cook now, and other ways.
How does it help your cardio? I heard that's one of the great things about it is that your cardio increases immensely.
I did feel that I was, I have more energy with cardio. I don't fatigue that fast. And I was just as strong, really, you know, like I still was able to lift the same kind of weight. But anyhow, so now I wanted to trim down a little bit, and I gave it 2 weeks with now being back in the gym with the same kind of workouts and with all vegan diet. And I have a harder time seeing quick results where prior, if I needed to trim down for a job, I would just eat, free range chicken and with lettuce or tomato. And within 3 days, I can see results, right? It goes that quickly.
Well, your body uses I think with meat, your body uses all of that. You know, with plants, there's so much that can't be digested, which is what fiber is. It's like undigestible material. It's like your body works so hard to pull stuff out of it. And to get like the same amount of calories from a bunch of vegetables, I mean, you can eat a piece of chicken like this, and if you needed to get that out of broccoli, you're gonna have to eat like a huge bowl. And by the time you do that, you're just like falling asleep. I mean, I don't know. I'm you know what else too is interesting? If you go long enough, the only way the human body makes hormones that balance everything is cholesterol. The only place you get cholesterol is animal products. So unless you're like taking some kind of supplement to get good cholesterol, then the hormones get out of whack, and things get kind of weird there. Another thing, like you become deficient in iron, like I don't know, and then B12. You need like a B12 supplement too. My friend was on a total vegan diet, and I was like, man, his baby looks really small. He had like a 3-year-old, and the 3-year-old looks like a 2-year-old, but he's like running around, and my friend's like, no, he looks healthy. He has an 8-pack. I'm like, a 3-year-old baby shouldn't have an 8-pack. Like, it's like, it's like malnourished. And his teeth, like bones started like rotting, and he had to get like the baby to get his teeth pulled.
No,
the doctor's like, you can't do that to a baby. Like, you got to give him like fatty stuff and meats, because if you're not getting like B12 and you're not getting enough iron, then you start like getting your bones start rotting. And actually with like old, like fossilized like human bones, they can tell when the agricultural revolution happened, because when people start eating grains, they can tell by tooth decay. Like it actually like the sugars in grains actually like eat bone in your teeth.
No way. That's crazy.
Yeah. But you know what? I think it's like, it's trying it out. It's like trying the vegan thing out, because I think like getting a lot of vegetables is like really great, but maybe throwing in some free range chicken wouldn't kill you, or like some salmon or something, or like lean meat, or like venison, or like buffalo sometimes.
Yeah.
Unless you take supplements, but.
Well, yeah, right. But so that when I didn't see any kind of massive changes when the gyms opened back up and I was still on a vegan diet, I said, you know what? I'm just gonna go pescatarian for a few weeks and see how it works out. And I tell you what, I started that like 4 days ago, and I can already I can see a difference, because I just know this works. When I had to trim down for jobs, that's what I would do, and it just works for me. So we'll do that. But the other thing too, and Eddie Fernandez didn't tell me that when we first got on the vegan diet, man, oh my gosh, dude, you get so gassy. It's unbelievable for like 2 or 3
because your body, you need those bacteria to break down all that rough foliage and stuff.
And all the fiber too. It's crazy.
All the fiber and stuff. Yeah. I don't know, I've never met like, I mean, I guess on Game Changers you see it, but like vegan people always seem like soft, like even if you're thin, you're like flat. It's like you're always like skinny fat, or like, I don't know. It's just like I feel strong eating meat. I don't know. Like, I feel like I could like take a fall or like run into a wall. I just feel like pretty. I don't know. I feel like vegan people are always like just a little. I don't know. But good for you though. It's good. It's good to try different stuff.
Yeah. So
I do the paleo thing, where it's just like vegetables, meat, and fruit, and no grains, no milk. No cheese. If I want to like cut down, and doing that, it's like in a week you could get like pretty cut.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyways,
so to go back to the topic, what are some of the goals that you've set for yourself? What do you want to accomplish?
Well, I guess right now, like what I'd really like to do with acting is just get to where I can be in a place where I'm like working all the time. Cause I don't know if there's anything like, I'm always doing something. Like I started taking voice lessons recently to like work on my voice for theater, or just to open myself to having more parts for that. So that's like, I have like all these mini goals, but like I recently asked a friend of mine if he wanted to do a play in July, right before this whole thing happened. And he was like, well, I would, but I'm really focused on being a movie star this year. And to me, those kind of goals always seem kind of bizarre, because you have no control over whether that's going to happen or not. But you can set like smaller goals that'll put you in a place to where you're all right. So my smaller goals are like, staying in really good shape, or reading so many plays a week, or like writing a play. So like I just finished writing a short film, spending like an hour a day writing, working on my voice. It's like all these, I just have all these little goals, and that's, I guess, like reading a lot, like trying to read like a few books a month, and then just doing like to always be acting. I feel like whenever you're doing something, like God will put things in place for you to keep doing whatever it is you're doing. So if I'm like working on a play with somebody, I find that at those times, that's when I end up getting an audition that's like a part that happens to be the same part I've been working on for a month in this play. And things just they tend to like, if you put in the work, they tend to just like be there. So I'm trying to get a play going. There's a Fringe Festival in September in Hollywood that I'm trying to like get a few people together for that. Filming this new short film. that I have, and what else? It just, yeah, I guess just like little goals, you know. I like to be working regularly as an actor. I'd really like to just be working all the time. I really enjoy working, I guess.
Yeah, but you just made a great point. I mean, you just wrote a short screenplay. I mean, you just wrote a short, right? So
Yeah.
you can't just always sit around and wait for it to happen. You gotta create things. And look, even if that short never goes anywhere, I mean, you gain experience right then and there, right? You learn how to write something. You know, I'm sure you already have some knowledge of it, but you know, with every single time that you write something new, you're going to get better at it. And that's just, and you're going to get better at reading other screenplays. You're going to get better at acting, I'm sure, as well. I mean, there's so many different aspects, and you just got to keep doing things. You got to learn something.
And I think it helps with stunts too. Sometimes also it helps. Sometimes if you're like too much, like, how is this going to help this? I don't see how it is. It's a waste of my time. But there's ways that things help in ways you wouldn't even think of, you know. But if you're too like result oriented, you know, you'll miss the what's it called? You'll miss the forest for the trees. So even like reading scripts, you know, and writing stuff, it helps me. I feel like even as a stunt performer, where I'm like, oh, my job's not necessarily to be like the best athlete competitively speaking, like to do this like the craziest, but to do it in the way that it like makes the most sense for the story. So if the character is supposed to be like not the most coordinated, let me like try to move like the actor does, or let me like, if this beat doesn't work out, it's not about me seeing like how fast I can get there, how fast I can run, but like working in conjunction with everyone else, like serving the story and finding like funny little bits to do. You know, I feel like everything kind of complements each other, and yeah. So I don't know. I guess that's kind of, yeah. I don't know how to end that.
No, I love it. I love that you have to have little goals in order to get ahead.
You know what? And it helps too with like acting, because sometimes you go in there thinking like, shoot, you know, am I tall enough? Am I short enough? Should I do it this way? Should I do it that way? And then when you like write something yourself and you're going to go to cast it, you realize that it's really just about like who's kind of right for the part, you know, like you're looking for a certain type, and then it takes you out of this thing where you're like, whoa, like it's not all about me. Like there's a lot of working parts here, and I just got to go and do the best job I can do. But at the end of the day, it's a bigger thing than me. It's about the story or the whole production. And the same with doing stunts, you know, like I know some stunt people that kind of feel like their thing is the most important thing on set, and you lose the scope of what you're doing, that you're working with all these people to make the film, you know, or tell the story, not necessarily like just have like the craziest stunt, but have the stunt that just works with everything else.
Yeah.
You know, the best.
And, you know, actually you made me think of something your dad also always drilled into me, or us, was when you do a fight scene, you know, he always said, you know, who are you? What, are you a bum that's fighting, or are you are you a tough guy, or what's your personality? So you have to learn to adapt to the body language in order to bring that across, right? And it's not all about just doing the movements for the stunt. It's not all about just executing the action. It's about bringing
performance,
charisma,
bringing life to it.
Exactly. And then also, you know, especially with fighting, after you get hit like 4 or 5 times in the stomach or in the head or whatever, right? Punched. I mean, not really, of course. You're going to have to
you have to have that with the way you move.
Right. Show that weakness. I mean, you heard it.
Like later on in the fight, you're like holding that thing that got punched before. Yeah. So many people now, like the style with like the superhero stuff is they'll get hit in the face like 20 times in a fight scene. And it's just like, ha, 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 ha. And then it doesn't even look like, it looks like it's like a strange like dance routine, you know, and the movements look sharp, but it's almost like not human. And I guess everyone has different values for what they like. You know, some people are like, wow, that's like a really, you know, that's some real sharp choreography. But I think at the end of the day, it's supposed to be like lifelike, you know, it's supposed to like imitate life. And I feel like also when each punch has a consequence, it's cool. Like there's a fight in like The Godfather when Sonny goes to beat up that guy like Carlo or whatever, who's the guy like beat his sister. And that's like not a good fight. I mean, there's spots where there's like this much, you know, air between some of the punches, but because of the way they're like acting it out and playing the moments and like just really taking their time, everyone loves it. Like it's like a fight that everyone knows in the movie.
Yeah.
There's another one in the Chase with Marlon Brando and Robert Redford where these like country cops kind of go and they beat up Marlon Brando, and he gets hit like 5 times in the thing, but every hit you're like, oh man, like, cause it in real life too, you see a guy get hit in the face and everyone's like, oh shit, that guy got knocked out. If you don't bring that to a film when you're doing a fight, everyone it loses the consequence. You know, people see a guy get punched and you kind of almost become like desensitized to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and that's also something your dad was always drilling into us too. You know, I remember him barking at the other ones when they were just standing there waiting for their part to, you know, for their turn to swing, right? You can't just stand next to a couple of guys fighting like you just explained. You know, I don't know why it just popped in my head, but the Lethal Weapon action, you know,
like, first one?
Yeah, well, all of them, but Mel Gibson always did such an amazing job with really transcribing the pain that, you know, his shoulder that constantly popped out, and so just real things. And when he fought someone, he got his ass kicked a lot of the times, but so you could see that energy level going up and going back down and the aggression coming out. And most of them were coordinated, I think, by Conrad Palmisano and Mick Rogers. I don't want to say anything wrong here, but I know those both of them were involved. Both of them extremely talented, of course, old school guys, and really have a great vision. But yeah, that was always something that was just this reality that came across, you know. And Die Hard had the same thing with Bruce Willis. I mean, at least the first 2. I haven't seen the 4th one yet.
I saw a fairly recent one. There's quite a few of them though, are there? Maybe there's even more than 4. I'm sure how many Die Hards there are.
But anyhow, yeah, it's not all about just doing big action. It's, you know.
Yeah, it's like within the context, and I think there's a talent in that, and like, yeah, I don't know, when you see guys that are good at that, it's like a certain kind of talent and experience, and there's something to be said for that too. Because that's the whole thing. You want people to see it and to be like, oh, what, you know, like, oh shit, not like, oh wow, these are real athletic guys, you know. Well, look how sharp, look how nice sharp their form is, you know. Yeah. You want to be like, man, that guy's getting his ass kicked. So.
Well, what about injuries? You've been pretty lucky. You got away quite a few times with pretty hairy.
Yeah, I've gotten 2 knee surgeries, one on each knee, but minor, just like torn meniscuses, and
okay.
I was pretty much back to 100% after like 6 weeks on both of them. Broke my nose. I was doing a fight scene at I was just practicing a fight at Valley College, and I'm like supposed to be like kind of unconscious on the ground. I get picked up and like headbutted, but it was just kind of rushed, and the guy was supposed to go to the side, but instead he just went straight on.
No.
And I was like this. I just remember like being like oh, and my nose was like sideways like that for like a week, and then I went to yeah. And you know, that's about it. I don't know, like minor things, getting like dinged up, but yeah, nothing too bad. Some concussions, kind of like knocked out a couple times, but yeah. I worked on the show The Orville, and I did this like ratchet, and it was like a rap, and I'm like a robot working on something. There's an explosion, and it's like, I think it was like 25 or 30 feet onto these like pillars, like these big like big cylinders, you know. And I remember thinking like, man, I really hope that I end up landing in the right way, like not on my neck on this thing. Like that was one of the, you ever those ones where you're like doing this right for the stunt, and you're like, God, like please let me be okay. Like I have no control. I'm kind of just going along for the ride, but it totally worked out. But so I hit the pillar, and then afterwards I remember like I was like on the floor, and then they're like, great, that's great. And then they're like, man, that was great how once you hit, your whole body just went limp. Like it really looked like the robot, like, you know, the power went off on that. That was great. And I was like, oh, I think I got knocked out. Like, you know, and it was just like, I didn't hit my head or anything. It was just like the the getting like shook that much into this thing.
Yeah.
But I forget why I came up with that story. But anyways, like nothing serious. I've pretty much been okay. And I feel like if you train enough and you're always working out, then you're usually fine. You know, the only time I think you really get hurt is when you don't go for something or you chicken out right before. You know, but if you really commit, usually you end up okay, even if you take a bad spill.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Is there a stunt that you haven't gotten to do yet that you always wanted to do that, you know, like looking for one of these days get an opportunity to?
What would be fun? You know, yeah, I always thought it'd be cool to do like a high fall into like a moving truck bed or something, you know, like under a bridge. That always makes something that'd be really cool. I've never done a car hit, but you know, at this point, I kind of like, if one came along, I'd do it, but I don't know, like certain things I'm not like, you know, just itching to go and like get hit by a car, you know, but if like, let's see, fire burn would be cool. I've done like partial burns, like just like a hand. I don't know, anything like really, really, really cool. Like getting the opportunity to do some car stuff would be cool. Yeah, like to jump a car or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, but you know, also I feel like that kind of thing, you really have to put the time into that. And like my time's kind of invested in like so many different things now. But the guys who do that are like, you got to have that feel and you got to be like doing it all the time, unless you've done it for so long. Like for you, do you need to drive every so often to know what a car is going to do? Or at this point, is it kind of like when you get into a car, you kind of can just like do one slide with it and then kind of put it where you need it to be?
No, I do definitely believe in that. You know, like anything, like the more you do it, the better, the sharper you stay at it. At the moment, I do not have a track car or practice, but I also been doing this for so long that, you know, it's like kind of like riding a bicycle. You never, you
really forget.
Yeah. And I have gotten to drive so many different kinds of cars, you know, high performance cars, or pieces of crap that they give you on set a lot of the times. And, it really helps you deal with what you get, right? Because you also have to be aware of the fact that so many people are amazing drifters, right? But they always have their drift car, right? They're used to having the high performance setup, great e-brake and tires and this and that and so on. And yeah, obviously you're going to be awesome at it because that's what you practice with. But when you then show up and set and you have a $5,000 piece of crap car that has a shitty e-brake and, you know, crappy tires, and you still have to be able to perform. And so it's important, I believe, to again be as versatile as you can be. You know, try different vehicles and again, seat time, obviously. But
Yeah.
yeah, to answer your question, you know, like I always personally enjoyed doing car stunts too, and have gotten a lot of opportunities, but also created opportunities for myself to do that in order to get better. I mean, I actually did, you know, back home in Switzerland, we turned cars over for fun, you know, just to do it. Right? We got old junk cars and we set them up and we just, you know, nothing huge, but, you know, 40-mile-an-hour turnovers, you know, and just to learn, you know.
Was that you? I remember one time I went down to I think it's like those studios that are near downtown LA. Did you jump a car into a bunch of boxes? Is that, I don't know if when I was a kid I went to go see you like jump some cars into a box. It was like for Mr. and Mrs. Smith. No, maybe it was somebody else.
No, that wasn't me. No, I jumped the Hummer 2 for Danny Wasella's years ago downtown.
Oh, sweet.
It was actually cool. We were able to use the jump ramps that they used in the old TV show Knight Rider. So it was cool to use those ramps.
Wow.
And yeah, I think I hit those ramps with about 40 miles an hour, and, you know, launched the truck about maybe 6-foot wheel clearance and about 55, 60 feet far. And dude, that truck landed like no problem at all and rolled right out of it. I mean, not even oil pan, nothing.
Wow.
Yeah, it was cool.
Just casually take a sip of water. Is that the Hummer 2 or Hummer 3?
Hummer too. The
Hummer
3
too.
I think is it's too small, and it's not as well set up, I think. But yeah, so that was just one of them,
Yeah.
But yeah, car jumps are fun, man. I mean, and
Seems like a blast. Yeah.
yeah, and if you're set up right, and you follow you follow all the rules, and again, if you set up right with whatever system you want to have, depending on how big you're going to go in a car jump, all you got to do most of the time is going straight and hit the ramp right. I mean, unless you don't have a straight approach, which does happen sometimes. But you just got to keep cool.
Just got to go along for the ride. And just
yeah,
keep
exactly. Right.
Yeah.
And then have a good safety team, of course, because, if shit does go wrong, then you want to make sure that you don't have to worry, like I told Cody Gilbert, like when I have Troy Gilbert with us on set, you never have to worry about it. I mean, that guy's so good. And we have such a great friendship established. And he's just extremely good at what he does. So,
yeah,
you never have to worry about it.
And like not pretentious at all too. It's like meeting him, you wouldn't think like how good he is at what he does. I mean, just because he just seems like such a cool guy. I remember one time at Bob's, he just like showed up and it's like, oh, can I do a high fall? And he climbed up to like the top of the ladder, and like as he was climbing, he just goes and he did like a backflip turn into a header. Like it was like a back. It's like a back 1.5 with a half twist from like 60 feet. And
Yeah.
I remember at the time I was just like, no way. He didn't even look at it. He's just like, he looked at the bottom and he's just climbing and then just like chucked it.
Yeah.
And
He had 50 years old,
He's like 50 years old, and it's like, who knows the last time he did that. And like just like just the balls to go and do that and to have that kind of confidence in your own ability. Like it's one thing if you're like, an ex-gymnast or like a high diver and somebody really, whatever, but he's just someone that like, just has that kind of talent that he can just kind of feel it and confidence. And,
Dude,
yeah.
Like, again,
so impressive.
Hands down, in my book, Troy Gilbert is one of the top 10 stuntmen that ever lived. I mean, he can do everything and anything, like from horses to cars to motorcycles, high falls, full burns. Like he's 55 years old now. He would do a 100-foot high fall right now. He doesn't have to go and train for it. He's just an animal. He's insane and extremely good at all.
Yeah, I wonder if there's something too with like having like so many generations of people that are like stunt people. So they're all like natural athletes, like just athletes marrying other athletes. So now by his generation, he's like this natural super athlete. Well, I don't know, because Cody too. Cody's like naturally like pretty fit. I feel like I guess he grew up doing stuff, but he's another one who just is like a talented guy, naturally talented.
Yeah, but you're no different, and I'm sure that genes have something to do with it. But also, I mean, Cody went to Bobby's. He trained his.
He did all that stuff too. Yeah, that's true.
He had the privilege to have a very supportive family, of course, but also horses around him and so on. I mean, that he just.
It seems like just the mindset, that like you can do anything, like, or at least you would try. Like so many people are like scared to try things. And I feel like with a lot of like stunt people or stunt people's kids, they have this thing where they're like willing to kind of push the boundaries of like what they can do, but then also know exactly like what they can do too. So it's, yeah.
What's really interesting, and I was just thinking about the other day. So the school system is set up in a way where you get punished for failing, right? You have a test system, and if you don't do well, it's a bad thing. Fact is, if you don't do well in something, it's going to make you better because you're just going to keep doing it, right? I mean, pro basketball player as an example, he only got better because he kept trying, right?
Yeah.
You got to continue and don't give up, and you're going to get good at it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm learning Spanish right now. For the last 3 months, I've been trying to do an hour a day on Duolingo, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I still suck at it, but I do feel and realize I get better at it because now I'm watching. What did I watch? El Chapo. I watched on Netflix, right? And I watched in Spanish with English subtitles. And dude, you won't believe, like, I'm stoked. I understand like a lot of what they're saying.
Yeah.
it's always the same thing. I mean, you understand more than you can speak, right? But that's just a learning process.
I remember when you first came out here too, it was weird because like you don't have much of an accent when you speak English. So like I feel like people would think that you understood English better than maybe you did, because you spoke it kind of well, but like I don't know, I could imagine that could be like hard coming out. I mean, how well did you speak English when you like very first came out here?
Well, when I first moved to the States, I was 24 years old, and I had a Beavis and Butthead knowledge of the English language, right? It was really not a whole bunch there.
Because I remember, like, I never thought that – I remember when I first met you, I never thought that English was your second language, but, I guess I knew that you were, from Switzerland and stuff, but, you speak English without, like, not much of an accent. I don't know. Do people ever now tell you, like, oh, where are you from? Because it sounds like you picked up English pretty well.
I still feel like I have one though, but I just got tired of every conversation starting with where you from,
Right.
And so I wanted to adapt, I guess, as good as I could. And I remember hanging out with a few stunt guys or young guys that wanted to become stunt people. They were from Texas, and I would spend a lot of time with them. We would go over to Bobby's and train and just, whatever. And I remember Heather called me one day. She asked me, hey, what time do you think you'll be home? And I said, about 3:45. And she's like, oh, do not pick up that accent, right? And so I thought it sounded cool. And
there's something about picking a specific accent too that kind of helps, if you I'd heard that with like learning languages. But go on though. Sorry.
No, that sounded interesting what you were explaining earlier. You're going through some training right now with your voice coach. I think that's pretty awesome. And it's remarkable on some actors like Christian Bale, of course, amazing actor. You can't tell at all that they're, from England, like they're that well adaptable. It's pretty amazing. And then Mel Gibson, he's from Australia originally, right?
Yeah, I think he grew up in Australia, but I don't know if he had an Australian accent because I think his parents were American, and I think he went back and forth.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Because I think his speaking voice is just like standard, like a standard American dialect. But he does a great job with like the what's it called? The Professor and the Madman. This movie he just did with Sean Penn about the first guys that put together like a dictionary, like Webster's dictionary to have like all the words. And he's like does a Scottish accent in that. Mel Gibson's fantastic.
Dude, he's amazing. And I'm lucky enough to be friends with Jim Caviezel. Jim and I made a few movies, and he's an amazing guy, really good person. And he's friends with Mel, obviously, after shooting The Passion of the Christ. And just the things he tells me about Mel, he's a solid, seems to be a solid man. So.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it's also how impressive like the movies he did like so early on, where he like directed them and starred in them. Like, just what an undertaking too. They're always at these huge productions. Like, I'm blanking on it now. What's the one where he's like, Braveheart, like Braveheart, Passion of the Christ, Apocalypto. Like these are like big movies to take on, and he really impressive.
Right, and Braveheart, there was, to my knowledge, no CGI used at all, and they had masses of people, extras. It's insane. I just watched Lawrence of Arabia. Have you seen that?
I don't know that I have. It's Peter O'Toole, right? Does he play? Yeah.
Dude, insane. Like, and that movie, actually Glenn Wilder coordinated that movie. And I want to say they shot that in the 60s. And I believe I think they were in Spain, but definitely obviously out of the country. But just massive scenes, massive, right? With hundreds of horses, hundreds of extras on horses that had to be trained. And dude, there is certain shots while running on a camel. Those guys are riding camels. The camel's running, and the camera vehicle is right next to them, because back then they didn't have Russian arms. They had huge insert vehicles, right? The cameras were huge. And to get that kind of a steady shot, of an actor in a gaggle surrounded by other performers, actors on horses, or in that case, camels, riding, going, 25 miles an hour. And then you see Omar Sharif on another camel approaching him, all one shot, riding right next up to him and doing dialogue. Unbelievable. Crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just real movie making. That's just unbelievable. And I know it's different times, but it's just remarkable what they used to pull off, with tremendous production value.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And then as far as just stunts go too, like Buster Keaton stuff too is pretty impressive. Like some of the stuff that he did practically.
Dude.
Nuts.
I love researching things, and obviously, I always have researched our line of work, and there's so much more to do always. But yeah, it's important, I think, if you want to become a stunt performer, that's my personal opinion, to
know the history.
To find out who.
Especially because I feel like stunts played such a major role in like the beginning of film. Like with those Buster Keaton movies or all those like silent movies, like a lot of the guys who were writing it, directing it, and acting in it were also like innovators with all these like stunts and stuff.
Yeah.
And it kind of started. I mean, like what's the most exciting like kind of moving picture? It's like it'd be like all this kind of action stuff, and so it's like stunts have kind of been in movies since the beginning of movies. Played a major role. Yeah, interesting.
Well, hey, let's wrap it up here because we have someone to talk to, and we're going to have you again.
Okay, sounds great.
It's been real fun to see you, talk to you, and and again, I know you for so long now, and I think I have a video of you fighting me and Jason Russo, and you were like 8 or 9 years old, kicking us in the shins and
yeah,
putting up a fun little fight with your dad, and it's really cool to see you do so well for yourself, and you're a good kid, you're a good person, you're a solid man. So proud of you. And
thank you, Oliver. Yeah, the feeling's mutual, and really, happy for you too. And happy we're both here. And thank you for asking me to do this. It's great catching up.
We should do it with Monette, and of course your dad. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be great. All right, cool. Well, I'll talk to you later, Oliver.
All right, amigo. Have a good
night. You too.